I'm Peter.
And I'm Jiří.
And we are going to tell you how to make your apps survive on the Android.
And about the project that we made, that's called Don't Kill My App.
So, we are from Urbandroid team, and we are behind some popular apps like the Sleep as Android, which is the very first sleep tracking app on the Play Store. Twilight, which was the very first blue light filter on the Play Store, or Kinestop, which cures your kinetosis or car sickness. And once upon the time, everything was really awesome in the Android land. We had all these sweets like the cupcake, donut, Enclair, Froyo, ice cream sandwich, and everything was really yummy and sweet. And we had the masters builders. You may know them like as app developers, and they could build anything they imagined. Basically, there were no restrictions. You had an idea, let's say an ANSI double-decker coach. One day you build it, next day you distributed it to millions. So everything was really great. So different from the Apple world of the evil Lord business. And at some point, the evil Lord business was looking at the free Android world, and then something happened.
The Lord business started to infiltrate the Android land in 2012 with Android Jelly Bean, or as we call it, the Bertie Bott's Bitter Jelly Bean, because this was the first version of Android that actually could do something less than the previous version in some areas. Lord business stole the airplane mode. The developers could not switch on and off the airplane mode, even if they knew exactly when the user would need it. They would have to prompt the user to click the button to switch the airplane mode manually, and he kept stealing in those areas. Later in Kitkat, he stole mobile data control. In Oreo, he stole control over Wi-Fi when you were in airplane mode. And in Android 10, there was no Wi-Fi control for developers at all. In Kitkat, Lord Business stole control over external storage, which killed off many useful use cases. An entire section of apps like file managers or cloud sync apps, like, for example, Dropbox Sync. Those apps just couldn't work at all on Kitkat. This API to control external storage was returned later, but with a really strange UI, like the file picker, which wasn't really transparent for the user. And in 2018, he did a similar thing with phone and SMS permission, which I believe many Android developers will remember, because there was quite an upbringing about it, and they killed very useful apps like Big Launcher, which was a launcher for blind users that had to have access to phone calls, phone logs, and SMS messages.
Yeah. Buster builders basically started to live in fear. Since Android 4.0, every new version of Android killed some useful concepts. Read apps. And micromanagers, the evil minions of the evil Lord business, started to rage all over the Play Store and started to ban even innocent apps because of very strange policy violations. They use weapons like statistical code analysis. So they analyze your code and ban you one day, and there is no way to complain. You just are talking to bots. And it happens to us, actually, several times. For example, Sleep as Android was banned for 2 weeks from Play Store. And it was so hard for us to find out why. Finally, it was a detective job, and we found out that this is because one line of code somewhere hidden in our 300,000 lines of code, which we added 5 years ago, and there is no hint in the messages from the bots, and it's very, very difficult. Yeah, and that's not all, actually. Lord Business then created a master plan how to destroy all the smart in smartphones. He wanted to craggle, or you may know that Lord Business craggled or glued together all the Lego bricks so that no one can really create new things, build new things. And he did the same thing with the smartphones. He craggled our background processing, and without them, your phone is basically dumb, because anything you want to do, you have to do it manually. You have to interact with your phone. Nothing can really happen in the background. So just to recall quickly, what are the main components of the early Android background processing? It's the alarm manager, which allows you to do an exact thing, do some execution, at an exact moment. Background services, which typically use wake locks, so that you can do some job just a little bit longer before the device get into standby. And foreground services, which are high priority background services, which are user visible. They show some notification in the status bar so that users know that something is running. And Lord Business craggled all of them.
The first attack on background task was introduced in Android 6 or Marshmallow with Doze mode that we call ajns. Whenever the phone was still for a little bit of time and the screen was off, phone went to a special mode called Doze mode, which is basically restricting all of the background work. So wake locks, any processes that used or needed wake locks were broken. Unless they were using foreground services, which wasn't really usual at that time, and alarms were limited to be scheduled only once every 9 minutes, which killed, for example, sensor batching, which is a highly battery efficient technique to gather sensor data, which was used in health tracking apps. So this wasn't possible. So the Doze mode was supposed to conserve battery, but in those cases it actually caused more battery drain.
Yeah, just to add, actually Doze mode on Android 6 was buggy as hell. In fact, we have found an important bug in the Doze mode. We have reported it to Diane Hegborn at the time. We created even a minimal test case, but unfortunately, this really big bug haven't been resolved until Nougat. So the bug actually means that even foreground services, which were designed to run even during Doze mode, they were allowed to keep their wake locks. Actually, their wake locks have been broken, but luckily we found also a workaround. That's basically placing your foreground service in a separate process. If you use this workaround, even on Android 6, your services could survive, but it's not a pretty workaround. And
in Android 7, Nougat, this was fixed, but Android 7 also introduced a worse, more destructive version of Doze mode, which we call cvaj, which kicks in immediately after screen off and immediately destroys background processes.
And Lord Business just kept going. In Oreo, he basically made foreground the new background. So background services were no more possible on Oreo. Actually, there were some other alternatives like jobs, but it didn't cover all the use cases. I don't want to go into really detail, but actually in many cases, the only alternative for your background service was turning it into a foreground service, which made it user visible. So now in the new Android versions, users see constantly some notifications popping up because apps need to do something in the background, and it's really disturbing, and I don't know if it's really productive for the users. Anyway, this was also buggy. Somebody probably thought that 5 seconds would be enough for anybody, but it's not. So even if you create this very simple foreground service you see on the screen, a foreground service which the only thing the foreground service does is flag itself as a foreground service in the onCreate method, it's still not enough to prevent crashes. Because on many phones, real life in the production, 5 seconds is not enough to start a service. So actually this will crash with an application not responding crash. And there is no workaround for that. And he kept going. We had adaptive battery and background restrictions in Pi. So actually, what are background restrictions? There is an option that you can prevent apps from doing any work in the background. The user can do it. You know, some apps, their core business is just doing something in the background. Imagine an app which should notify you about an appointment. So if users check that button, those apps basically completely stop working for the user. So, for example, we are getting very often this kind of support cases. The user, hey, support, my alarms are not working. Your alarm clock is beep, useless. I want a compensation for being late at work. And we say, why did you enable background restrictions for this app? And the user says, who knows? I'm not a rocket scientist. I just want my alarms to work. And that's it. If you create a checkbox for a user, users will use it and break apps. But this is not all. After that, they have adaptive battery. So the system can check this checkbox for the user when the system thinks that the app should not run in the background. And as expected, some OEMs did implement this very badly, like Samsung, for example, who puts any app which is not used for 3 days, it prevents it to run in the background. So imagine what this could mean for alarm clocks, for instance. So I would like to say that in Android 10, we have no cakes anymore, right? Any version before Android 10 had some nice cake, some nice sweets, and there is none for Android 10. And I think it's because there really isn't anything sweet about new versions of Android, because new versions of Androids are less capable than the previous version. So in Android 10, you can't start screens from the background anymore. There is no Wi-Fi control for the apps. Even the app is sure the user needs an Wi-Fi now to make the job for him. You can't. Storage is again redone into scope storage. Luckily, this has been postponed. Android 11, Lord Business took permissions for us. So some permissions could be only used when the app is actively used by the user. Again, the user needs to always touch his phone to do something useful, like location or microphone. And nobody knows what will come in Android 12. But we are quite sure, or we are expecting, that this really will be painful.
Well, this was Android. But what you have heard until now is just nothing compared to what you will hear. Because there is not just one Lord business. There are multiple Lord businesses. There is Lord business for Samsung. There is a Lord business for Huawei. There is Lord business for OnePlus and many others. And they all built their own app killers. What do those app killers do? They do the worst things you can imagine. Your alarms won't trigger. Not even those ones set by set exact. Not even set by the magic set exact and allow while idle method. Not even by the holy grail method set alarm clock. No way. You want to start foreground service from background? You're kidding me. No. You're doing something for 10 minutes. Let's kill it. Wake clocks, break them. Swiping an app from recent apps? Kill it. Or start after boot? No way.
Yeah, so let's have a look at the history a little bit. Actually, the very first app killer was the Stamina mode, which was introduced in 2013 by Sony. When enabled, wake clocks were broken, alarms did not ring. There was no API to tell developers that Stamina mode is on. So if the app was broken by Stamina mode, the developer didn't even know to show some warning message to the user, hey, you have to disable Stamina mode or something like that. So it was really, really painful. But actually, it was the very first of its kind, and the other app killers which came after it were even more evil. So it actually opened a Pandora box. And this all culminated with Nokia. If DOS mode was the V2, then Nokia implemented really the Death Star. Yes, in 2018, Nokia, the one vendor who was thought to bring the balance to the Android ecosystem, who was thought to bring the pure Android experience. Yes, Nokia stuck us all into the back with the Death Star. It was called the Evenwell Power Saver, and it killed every process after 15 minutes, breaking all alarms, and actually only apps on their whitelist could survive. There were no user options, no API, everything was on by default. And the only way how to get rid of this Death Star was to use Android Debug Bridge, which I think you know is very easy for the regular Joe Android user.
Yeah, and really funny was that this was true even for their Android One Nokia phones, which were supposed to be clean Android, working stock, everything should work like Android would. So this was the last drop, and we gathered the most resilient master builders, app developers, around something that we internally call la résistance. And to the outside world, we present it as a Don't Kill My App project. Our mission is to make smartphones smart again instead of dumb. We want to educate users with guides on how to help them make smartphones smart. We wanted to put pressure on phone manufacturers not to make the phones dumb. We wanted to reduce support and centralize effort because the app killer related cases are the most support heavy for a lot of developers, and there are many ways on how to help the users. We wanted to set a new benchmark for tech servers with scoring the phone manufacturers and their phones regarding their app killing business. And we wanted to create an open source community project that anyone could take part of.
Yeah, so what is actually Don't Kill My App? It's basically a community-built instruction manual, which helps users and developers to make app working. So there is the main section, the instruction page, which is divided into 3 different sections. A story, a background story, how this all happened, what the manufacturer did, and so on. Solution to the user, so actually screens and checkboxes, what users need to check to make things running, sometimes quite complicated, and solutions for developers even, because on some phones or on some flavors of Android, even developers can change their code or adjust their code to make their app running better. There are OEM scores, and we have a JSON API, which helps developers to build this functionality directly into their app, so that if the app starts, users can already see guides how to make it working.
When you go to the app, which is at don'tkillmyapp.com, you will see this. This is what it looks like. It's basically a list of scored phone manufacturers with the worst offenders at the top. As you can see, OnePlus is currently the worst offender. And when you click on any of those phone manufacturers, you can see the guide with solutions for users and solution for developers and some part of the history.
Yeah, so this is how the negative score looks. We have a very transparent way how to score OEMs. So we just reserve the right to move it 1+ 1- crap score, but basically if there is an app killer which can't be controlled by the user, then probably the manufacturer will get a 5 CREP score. And if you have some options, or if it's easier for users, and there is less support load for some reasons, then they get a lower score. We think that those badges are great for review sites which review hardware, because at the moment there is, for instance, Huawei, and they say this is really a great phone, lots of memory, it's blazing fast, better than any competition. But then they should also add, but your apps won't run, right? So it's a good thing to add our badge there. Yeah, you may be asking why actually OEMs are adding app killers onto their phones. Of course, it's Lord Business, so he's evil, right? But maybe it's not everything is black and white. So we are asking this question, and I think if they ask their users, if they create a questionnaire and they ask, what's your favorite feature you would like to see on your smartphone, they probably say it's battery life, right? But the problem is manufacturers would need to create bricks to compensate for that, or they need to kill apps. And this is why we think that the question was wrong. If they place the right question, do you want more battery? But in exchange, you will be late for meetings, you won't be woken up in the morning, you will miss messages from your family and friends and so on. Do you want this? Probably people will say, oh, take this battery back, I want my apps to run, I want my life back, right? So
who's currently high on the list? As you can see, those are very big names in the Android ecosystem. This is no secondary offering. This is Huawei, Samsung, OnePlus, Nokia, and Xiaomi. And we can go through the worst three offenders one by one. So the number 3 is Samsung. And their app killer is called Advanced Battery Features. It's enabled by default, as all the app killers are. And it hacks the adaptive battery concept, which Peter talked about earlier, which is in stock Android. But Samsung does something more. And after 3 days, whenever any app is not being used for 3 days or more, it will put it in a special list called Put Apps to Sleep. And all apps in this list will have their background processes restricted or not working at all. So imagine you have an alarm clock, which you use to wake up for work, and you have an extended weekend. So 3 days weekend, that's great. So you are not using your alarm for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and on Monday, you won't get waken up because of this app killer. The next, number 2 app killer is by Huawei, called Power Genie. This one is also enabled by default with no simple way to disable, and it just kills everything after 60 minutes of the phone being off. Being screen off, even alarms. And the number 1 offender is OnePlus. Their app killer is called Advanced Optimization, which sounds really great, but it just prevents background starts of all apps, and also does something really hideous. It takes apps out of those mode whitelist where the user manually put them. So the user thinks that they actually whitelisted some apps to not be restricted, but OnePlus just craps it all.
Yeah, so there isn't just the Don't Kill My App website, but we also have the Don't Kill My App app. Yeah, we created an app which is very handy because you can benchmark your phone. You can see how are different OEMs doing in terms of battery optimization, how well will app run on different OEMs. And also, if users apply some of the recommended settings, they can afterward test if it actually works, if they could improve or increase the benchmark percentage. So on the screen, you see a typical result for an out-of-the-box Pixel, 100% everywhere, and a typical result for Huawei, very low percentage, nearly nothing, just few tasks will execute, so the processing is really limited. So how do we do it? The app is extremely simple. It's open source, so you can check the code on GitHub, and it starts a foreground service with a wake log. And then it does execution on the main thread and some thread executors every few seconds, and it schedules alarm every 10 minutes. And then the scoring is very simple. It's basically request scheduled divided by a request performed. Yeah.
As Don't Kill My App website is open source, it has the source code on GitHub and itself runs on GitHub pages. We really welcome any contributions. On the site itself, there are feedback and contribute buttons, which take you to when you click them, you can edit the page, or you can add GitHub issues to discuss anything regarding app killers. Or if you have any news or any instructions experience, you can create a pull request, which we will really welcome because we are doing this in our spare time, and we also don't have all the phones at hand, so we are really glad for any input from other developers and Android users. How you can, as a developer, how you can integrate Don't Kill My App in your apps? Well, we have 3 ways. The first one is code samples. Where applicable, we have code samples to help you defend your app against some app killers. This is definitely not possible everywhere, but where it is, we have code samples. We have a JSON API, as Peter already pointed out. You can simply fetch any information from Don't Kill My App via the JSON API and present it in your app or anywhere. And there's also a great third-party library by guys at the Double.Labs who created something you can use to really quickly integrate Don't Kill My App information into your app. This is a custom activity or a dialog which you can put in your app, and it will automatically download the information from Don't Kill My App, and you can present it in your app and customize the view any way you want. We also want to thank the master builders in the Resistance, especially Joao Dias, which is the guy behind Tasker. Everyone know him, who helped Don't Kill My App website to be put off the ground by contacting Android police. Thank you, Joel. By contacting Android police who wrote about us or about the website at the start. And we want to thank Tomáš Hubálek and many other guys who are helping us maintain the website. And also every user of Don't Kill My App. There are lots of users. We got 5 million visits since launch 2 years ago, and we are still getting thousands of visits daily. Thank you.
And other achievements. I would like to thank guys from the Android press, like Android Police, Android Central, Android Authority, XDR developers. Many thanks, because they made a lot of articles about our project. We know we got some attention in the Android team. We know that they are looking at Don't Kill My App to map fragmentation of the Android platform. And mainly, it's about support. Yeah, I would say that DKMA is the new RTFM, if you know what I mean. So this is a very typical support case. We got thousands of those. Huawei user comes and says, hey, support, my alarms are not working. Your alarm clock is useless. I want compensation for being late at work and my boss kicked me out and you have to pay me and there will be suing and so on. And we just say, don'tkillmyapp.com/Huawei. And the user astonishingly replies, thank you guys, you are great. This was really helpful. I won't be buying a Huawei phone ever again. And this has happened all over again and again. So, and the biggest achievement of them all, yeah, the Death Star is now really dead. Yeah, I don't know if Don't Kill My App was a regular X-Wing or if it was the Millennium Falcon, maybe. I would really like to think so. But we definitely contributed to something which happens just, I think, a year ago when Nokia recalled all their Evenwell software from Nokia phones. And now it's again the pure Android experience. So Nokia is finally a real alternative to the Pixels. And I think thanks to that, the Android ecosystem is safer, smarter, and better place for Android developers. Yeah. And we will sing a song.
Everything's not awesome. Everything's not cool when they kill your apps. Everything's not awesome. Whoa! I think I shall retreat from Play Store perhaps. What's the point? There's no hope. Awesomeness was an Android pie dream. It was so free, but we're way past the days of the ice cream.
Sandwich.
Everything's not awesome. But that doesn't mean that it's hopeless and bleak. Everything's not awesome. But in my heart I believe we can make things better if we fight together. Side by side, you and I, we will build it together. Build it together. All developers, I just came here to say don't kill my. I just came here to say don't kill my. I just came here to say don't kill my app. Everything's not awesome. Things can be awesome all of the time. Right now my jobs don't run. Doesn't mean we shouldn't try to make everything awesome in a less fragmented kind of way. What about some standards? Predictability would be great. We can make things better if we fight together. Side by side, you and I, we will build it together. Build it together. All developers, I just came here to say don't kill my. I just came here to say don't kill my. I just came here to say don't kill my app.
I just came here to say don't kill my app. Okay, that's great. So I give you a sentence from a user. You're awesome. Thank you for your work. Thank you so much, Jiri and Petr. So just a couple of also awesome presentation. Slides. I do like Lego. I do like the movie. I do like wonderful.